going to be doing a frottage print, and frottage is a fancy word for a rubbing. Okay. And we're going to be using these crayons. These were melted down from the little parts and pieces that broke. And so now they're good for doing rubbings. So you don't need to write this, but what you do need to write is your first and your last. If your name's Mrs. Mertz, you write this. And then let's write the hour down. Okay. And then on this one, we're just going to have that. All right. Then on the other paper, we're going to write our first and last and hour. And I'm using the crayon, aren't I? That's handy. And then this one we're going to call test. A test. That's okay. This will be the best test you ever took. All right. So I'm going to flip those over. And now the one with test is the one I'm going to start with. All right, so I have these texture plates, all right? I have these that are kind of more just geometric, backgroundy kind of stuff. And I have this one, which is a bug. I think it's like a beetle or something. All right, so to do the texture plate rubbing, on my test paper, I'm going to stick this underneath. And I'm going to take a crayon, and I'm not going to go like that. I'm going to use the big part of the crayon, and I'm going to go like this and just rub over it with the crayon. Okay? And another thing I'm not doing is I'm not rubbing all out here. I'm not doing that. I'm just trying to stay on the image. Okay, let's turn him over. Maybe I like it better that way. Let's see. Just looks different. All right. I think I like it this way better. All right. Then I'm going to try these texture plates. Put a little yellow on, and I'm trying to rub nice and hard, and I'm not letting my texture plate move around on me, because if it moved and then I kept rubbing it, it wouldn't do what it was meant to do. Okay? And now I'm going to be tricky, and I'm going to use a white texture or a white crayon on this texture plate. And I know you don't see anything. Oh, but wait, you will. All right, so there's my test. And here's some that are on my good paper, whatever. Okay, so here's my name and the hour, and here's another one. So here I've laid out my texture. I kind of went for a sky and ground thing, and I did some butterflies. You can do this all sorts of ways. You just want to kind of think about how are you doing it, really. Have a plan, kind of, ish. All right, so I'm going to set these aside because I'm done with those. All right, I did that. And I can get rid of my texture plates. I don't need these anymore. I'm done with those. I'm done with these. Goodbye, sweet little fun crayons. And now I'm going back to my test. And now I've got markers here. All right, so these are just plain old markers. You could use Crayola. They're watercolor markers too. These say watercolor. You wouldn't want to do this with permanent marker. And so what I'm going to do is just hold the marker on the side, and I'm going to just put some color on. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to use the tip. I don't want to go like this. This won't work very well. I want to go more like this. And I could do this on my bug. I could do this on this image here. Okay, and as these dry out or get plugged up with wax, we're just gonna give them a toss. We're not gonna like put them in a special place or anything. All right, now we just did the color wheel, so I know that my colors, like purple, mixes really good with blue. So I'm gonna put a little purple in here. Ooh, I think he's drying up. Goodbye. Let's try another one. Oh yeah, this one's a good one. Okay, I think I'll put a little blue here, or purple. Maybe a little purple over here. All right, and now I'm gonna put, I think I'm gonna go with black. So I'm gonna put some black over here. And remember, this is where I colored it white. You might be looking at how I'm holding this. I'm just putting it in the palm of my hand with my finger on the tip and just gripping it, and that way I can use the edge or the side of the marker. And I'm trying not to do this. I'm trying not to do that. Just trying to get a lot of color in there. I think I'll do this, a little bit of black on this too, just to see what happens. All right, and heck, why not some yellow up here? Let's get a little yellow involved. Okay, so now I'm done with these for now, and I can do them on this next, but I think first I want to see what happens here and see, you know, what colors are working really good and what ones maybe I want to avoid. Okay, so now I have water, and I have a watercolor brush. So this is a watercolor brush because it really holds a lot of water in it, and that's what I want here. So I'm just gonna load it up with water. I'm gonna come over here. Ooh, look at it repel off of the crayon. So the crayon is wax, and I'm putting water on wax, and we know from science that water and wax don't mix. Okay, so I've got a lot of pigment. I'm gonna just brush it out to the edges. Brush it over here. I'm using a lot of water. And with this technique, I don't want to try to overbrush it. So I'm just putting the water on, and then I'm just gonna leave it, because what will happen is after I go away, it's gonna keep working. So this one's still a little damp, and you can see it just kind of kept working. All right, here's one that was colored with streakies, and they don't, that doesn't look very good. What else do I have here? This one's kind of interesting, how it's the black on the yellow, and you can see it just kind of kept working while I was away doing other stuff. And that's the thing with watercolor, it will work after you leave, and so you don't have to feel like you have to like do it all. Just let the water do it. Okay, so just apply the water, trust the technique. Ooh, look at that. That's kind of fun with it on the yellow, and you can see it kind of bleeding over here a little bit. It's already starting to kind of do its thing. Okay, let's put a little on the black and see what that does. I think I'm going to drag the black down in here a little bit. Lots and lots of water, not so much brushing. Ooh, look at it repel off of the white. That's pretty cool. Now you can see that white crayon more with a dark marker on top of it. Let's try the yellow. Purple and yellow are opposite colors on the color wheel. Maybe they'll get really bright next to each other. All right, so basically you're just activating that marker with the water, and the water and the marker are just gonna get happy with each other and just do their thing, and you just stay off of it. Do it and leave. Okay, now I'm gonna put this on the dry rack. Goodbye. And now I'm gonna start doing this how I want. Okay, So that is the process, and that is what we're gonna do for today. Thanks for watching. Hello painters, we're going to be adding to our mixed media. Okay, so we've mixed the marker with the crayon, and this one's a little bit wet still, but that's okay. And you could actually, let's say, you could even work on this one which doesn't even have marker, and that's all right too, because it's the wax on the paper that's going to make the fun effects on your painting. So I have a list of things here that we're trying to accomplish, and what I'm going to do first is I'm going to work on edges right here. So a lot of times we'll just get stuff in the middle, and we don't want that. We want the edges of our painting to have kind of almost like a frame. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of paint, and I'm going to go on a couple edges. Okay, now if I left it like that, all right, it would look something like this. It would just have this solid line here, but I don't want that. I want to kind of wash it in, okay? So a washy black. So what I could do is just take it and I could wash it in like this to kind of blend it. Or my favorite is to just take my fingers and just kind of pull it. And I like using my fingers for this because I can kind of gauge the pressure that I'm using, whereas with a brush the pressure is a little bit harder to understand how hard or soft you're pushing. So I'm going to put a little bit of gold here, and I think I'm going to put a little bit more black down here, and again go to the edge, and I'm not really mixing my gold and black. Okay, but I am definitely addressing the edges. All right, and if my bugs in here show through at the end, great, and if not, that's okay too. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna work on focal point. So a focal point is where you want people to look. So my focal point here is this black area right here. In this picture, it's more kind of down here. Maybe it could be over here. In this picture, it's kind of here. We don't really want it smack in the middle. We want it kind of offset somewhere. So as I look at this picture, I'm kind of thinking I'm gonna make my focal point kind of more in this area. So I think what I'm gonna start by doing is kind of going around this bug here, okay? And just kind of, again, I'm gonna fade this out, fade it out, see what that does. This might become my focal point, and then again, maybe it's not going to. I don't know, I just have to kind of look at it and see. All right, not super exciting, so I think I'm just gonna add some more black here. But I'm not gonna put black all over the place. All right, so then the other thing I wanna do, so now I've kind of established this is my focal point. Now what I wanna work on is making sure that I leave some light. Now on this example right here, they've left too much light. So if we compare and contrast the two examples, you can see that this one has way more going on in it than this one. They just kind of chickened out, I think. So I think what I'm gonna do is just put a little gold on my finger. Oh, there I go, mixing the black and the gold. That's okay, I didn't mix it a lot. I'm just gonna fill this in, kind of put a layer of transparent gold, because I wanna have a solid gold area somewhere and a washy gold area. All right, but yet I wanna keep my light. I like this down here for my light, and this isn't super interesting right here. So I think I'm gonna put a little gold on that. Kind of vary which direction I'm running my fingers across this. Okay, and I think that looks pretty good. All right, so now what I'm going to focus on is pattern. Pattern. What am I doing for my pattern? So here I put pattern on here. I've got a little bit of pattern going around here. In this one, I've used dots to get my eyes to the focal point. I've also used lines to get my eye to this focal point right here. Here's another one. This time, again, I've used dots and lines to get my eye to the focal point. So what kind of pattern should I use? Well, I think I'm going to use some dots because they tend to work pretty good for me. Get my eye up here. And I think I'm going to put some dots here, kind of like a road map of how do I get my eye to the focal point. How do I instruct the viewer to say, hey, this is the most interesting place right here. And you know, this is kind of weak over here. I think I'm going to put a little bit of black now that I'm assessing it. A little black in here, kind of blend it so I just don't have a plain old black line. Boring, boring, boring. And I think I'm going to do some dots here and maybe edge this thing I've got here. That's kind of interesting. And I don't really like this right here, so I think I'm going to put a little bit of gold on it. Kind of spice it up a little bit. Make it look a little more exciting. And I'm letting it mix with my black just a little, not a lot. Yeah, I like that in more, and I think I'm going to add some down here to kind of balance it. Yeah, I like that. Okay, that's kind of interesting. I think I'm good here. I have definitely gone through and have all of these things done, and that's what's going to make kind of a more interesting painting. So if we look at some of these, all right, this one is missing pattern. There's no pattern anywhere, so my eye's having a hard time going to the focal point right here. If we look at this one, again, it's just got a hard edge border. It needs to be softened up. And what's this gold thing? I mean, really, there's no pattern. All right, we've left some white, and that's good. All right, how about this one? Well, let's see. Well, we didn't get an edge on it very well, and really there's not a lot of pattern going on, and I think we just got a little scared of what we were doing. How about this one? Oh, this poor person, they just didn't even really understand what was happening. They're just smearing paint around. There's no pattern. They're staying off the edge. That's so sad. Okay, there's no focal point really. Maybe this, but I don't know. All right, how about this one? I think we got a little scared. We mixed our black and white, and we really didn't understand the assignment too much. So if we compare and contrast, you can see I have color showing through from my marker still, and in a lot of these I will have the crayon showing through, because when you put that watery black on, the crayon pops up through there, and that's a really fun effect. All right, so hopefully this is something that you can do without being like, I don't know what to do. There's no step-by-step directions, but if you kind of follow this and try to think about, where am I looking, how am I getting there, going to the edge, trying to create a composition that's fun to look at, then I think you'll be fine. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and like it and subscribe. Thank you.